Away from Trump to day 2 of India's flagship global conference, Raisina Dialogue 2020, which has kicked off. Speaking at the current session that is underway is Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif. Let's cut across live and listen in.
The unfortunate incident of the shooting down of the plane, and there has been more mass mobilization. Now, how do you see this thing when you see the developments in Iran over the past few months?
Well, first of all, it's very good to be back, and thank you for inviting me, and a very good afternoon to everybody. I think the developments over the past few weeks are very sad reflections of a very serious problem in the United States thinking about our region. First of all, they look at everything from their own perspective, not from the perspective of the people in this region. When they assassinate everything from their own perspective, not from the perspective of the people in this region. When they assassinated a revered general in Iraq, violating Iraqi sovereignty, they thought, as Secretary Pompeo tweeted, that people would be dancing in the streets of Tehran and Baghdad. Actually, he picked up a small gathering of a few and tweeted that we rid the region of a whatever he want to call him, and then people are dancing. That showed two things which are very dangerous. And when combined, it becomes even more dangerous. Ignorance and arrogance. And when you become an arrogant ignorant or an ignorant arrogant, it becomes a disaster, particularly if you have a lot of power. That has been fueling mayhem in the region. Now, you've seen the reaction, not just in Iran. I was surprised to hear that in 430 Indian cities, 430 Indian cities, there were spontaneous demonstrations and meetings to commemorate General Soleimani, the American terrorist. 430 Indian cities. Now, the United States talks about proxies. Do we have proxies in India? Are the proxies that we have in Iraq number in the millions, because millions came to the streets of Iraq to commemorate him? Well, in Iran we have a country where people can state their views. Sometimes they state their views in excessive ways, sometimes the reaction is excessive. But the fact of the matter is, last few nights we've had people in the streets of Tehran demonstrating against the fact that they were lied to for a couple of days. Well, this was a very serious situation. We believe that it is. The fact that it wasn't disclosed early enough, of course, if you look at comparable situations, it was disclosed too early, because there are incidents where 2 years, 10 years has gone by and nobody has claimed responsibility. So our military forces were brave enough to claim responsibility early on. But people are angry even with those 2 days. That is the expectation that people have with the government, that the government should not, should have disclosed the information. Of course, I as foreign minister and the president, we didn't know until Friday afternoon. And we made sure that the people knew either Friday night or early Saturday morning. And we managed to do that. But just compare the numbers. 9 million, 10 million people altogether turned out in the streets of not only Tehran, but various cities in Iran, and Iraq, and Lebanon, and India, and Russia, to commemorate Soleimani. That can tell you, I mean, if people, you cannot bring 9 million people to the streets with force. Doesn't happen. But you certainly cannot bring people, 8,000 people in Delhi, 9,000 people in Mumbai. You cannot bring them out by any proxy measure. So the United States needs to think again about our region. They're making mistake. They're adding mistake to another. Now we had this disaster of the shooting of a civilian airline. Accidental shooting, but shooting nevertheless. 180 families are mourning the loss of very, very bright young people. We lost a lot of very bright minds. Why did it happen? Because there was a crisis. People made mistakes, unforgivable mistakes, but it happened in the time of a crisis. We need to make sure that these crises will be prevented. Now, if I may, this morning I listened to my friend Sergei Lavrov talking about various proposals for peace and security in the Persian Gulf region. Now, I had proposed a non-aggression pact last year, which he was kind enough to welcome. This year, in the UN General Assembly, our president proposed the Hormuz peace endeavor, or HOPE. That is very similar to what he presented. Basically, a replica of Helsinki. That is, we have a basket of principles: non-intervention, non-interference, non-aggression, peaceful settlement of dispute, respect for sovereignty, territorial integrity, all of that, plus a set of confidence-building measures, from cooperation in the field of desalination and nuclear safety, because the coasts of Persian Gulf are basically dotted with new or probably future nuclear power plants, as well as, going all the way up to military visits, to transparency in armaments, even to reduction in armaments. Iran would be very self-interested if we ask for reduction in armaments, because our arms expenditure right now are the lowest in the region. Saudi Arabia spent $67 billion on procurement. We, last time, our total military expenditure last year was $16 billion. So we are all for reduction of military expenditure. We are all for arms control in the region. And these can all be a part of this package that we call HOPE, because we need hope in this region. We have to get rid of this despair that is basically making the young generation in the entire region looking at a very, very unclear future. That has to change. And if we want to bring back our young generation, bring them home instead of them going out. We, like India, have a very, very intelligent and capable diaspora, which is a very big asset. But we need them at home too. And I think the other countries in the region need them at home too. So we need to create hope in our region for them to return. I didn't make an opening statement, but I will compensate in my answers.
Thank you.